Hello, comic book fans. I'm Kevin Gibbon, back with you once again. This week on Comics Let's Talk, we're going to talk about Shazam, the original Captain Marvel. You can't use that name anymore because Marvel now has the copyright. Captain Marvel came out a couple weeks ago. Now Shazam's coming out, who was the original Captain Marvel. And if you're totally confused, listen on because I'm going to tell you the history of DC's Shazam. Current events in DC Comics. In Justice League, Death of Darkseid caused Billy to lose connection to the old gods who gave him his powers. But the wizard found new gods who would replace Billy's old pantheon. And now the all-new god of gods, Shazam, possesses the strength of Sava, the fires of Hrungnir, the compassion of Anapal, the source manipulation of Zanus, Yuga Khan, Darkseid's and Highfather's father, the boldness of 8, the lightning of Mamaragan, the wizard. He also defeated Zanus and left the source with the wizard Mamaragan. The origin of Captain Marvel, or Shazam, can't use Captain Marvel, sorry, did it again. The origin of Shazam, when young William Joseph Billy Batson's parents were killed by the treacherous assistant Theo Adam, who was revealed to be the ancient evil Teth Adam, better known as the nefarious Black Adam. He was separated from his sister Mary and sent to live with their uncle. Unfortunately, his uncle soon kicked Billy out and stole his inheritance. Living on the streets, Billy survived by selling newspapers until one day a strange cloaked man led him to a part of the subway which he'd never seen before. Now, I guess that's kind of a strange thing to show a young kid nowadays. I guess it probably was back then too, but nobody ever thought of it, I guess. But here, I think, is a red flag for parents. Read the story, but don't go into the subway alone. You're not going to turn into Shazam. But anyway, he was separated from his sister Mary and sent to live with their uncle. So they led Billy to a part of the subway he'd never seen before. A marvelous train awaited them, covered in hieroglyphs and runes. Billy and the stranger boarded and rode the train deep into the bowels of the earth, eventually stopping in a long cavern, which housed statues of the 7 deadly enemies of man. There, Billy met the ancient wizard Shazam, who had protected mankind from the 7 deadly enemies for thousands of years. Shazam had observed Billy as he dealt with and endured the trials and hardships of his young life. Shazam was impressed with Billy's irrepressible altruism and optimism. He determined Billy was the worthy and proper recipient of the power of the elders, and it was thus that Billy was chosen to become Shazam's latest champion and granted the powers of the elders, Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, and Mercury whenever he spoke the wizard's name. Shazam! Aloud. Billy Batson is a bright young man with warm and light-hearted personality. He's kind, optimistic, courageous, and altruistic. Although he will usually try to avoid physical confrontation, he will always stand up for what is right, no matter the personal risks or costs. Billy idolizes Superman, and despite their many clashes, has tried to follow the Man of Steel's heroic example. Billy is quite protective of his twin sister Mary, both before and after she was also given the power of the elders and became Mary Marvel. Billy's altruistic and protective side was also evident when he defended Freddie Freeman against Captain Nazi and even persuaded the wizard Shazam to give the injured, crippled Freddie a share of the Elder's powers, transforming him into Captain Marvel Jr. In this new superpowered identity, Freddie used his powers to fight crime, injustice, and evil as a member of the Marvel family. Throughout the superhuman community, Billy is generally perceived as a Boy Scout, perhaps even more so than his idol Superman. Captain Marvel's pure heart, good nature, and irrepressible good nature have made him extremely hard to dislike. Thus, appropriately, he gets along with the vast majority of people he meets. And now let's look at the creation of the character, also from Comic Vine. Noticing the success of Superman at National Comics, DC's forerunner, Fawcett Publications decided to publish their own comic book stories. In 1939, artist C.C. Beck and writer Bill Parker created Captain Thunder and published Flash Comics #1, also known as Thrill Comics. But due to trademark concerns, Flash Comics was renamed Whiz Comics for issue #2. Before the comic went into print, artist Pete Costanza suggested changing the name of the issue's lead character, Captain Marvelous, which was shortened by editors to Captain Marvel, who first appeared as the featured character in Whiz Comics #2. The physical appearance of Captain Marvel was based on that of Hollywood movie actor Fred MacMurray. In 1941, National Comics sued Fawcett for copyright infringement. After several years of litigation, the case eventually went to trial in 1948 and was ruled in Fawcett's favor. In 1951, with the judge deciding that Superman hadn't been properly copyrighted by National. After an appeal, Judge Billings' learned hand found Superman's copyright was valid but Captain Marvel did not infringe it, only some of his stories. In the face of further action, Fawcett agreed to stop publishing the character and settled out of court for $400,000 in 1953. Shortly after these events, Fawcett also decided to shut down its comic book division due to the declining sales of comic books. Ironically, DC later licensed the character from Fawcett in 1972. However, DC couldn't officially publish or market a comic book called Captain Marvel because during the years between 1953, when Fawcett stopped publishing Captain Marvel comics, and 1972, Fawcett's copyright on the name had elapsed and was subsequently picked up and used by DC's chief competitor, Marvel Comics. Because of this legal, copyright, and trademark complication, DC was forced to come up with a different name for the comic book. They decided to call the comic book Shazam after Captain Marvel's magic word, which makes sense, and called his cast of characters the Shazam family. Despite this legal official name change, within the comic stories, Captain Marvel Jr., and the Marvel family were still identified using and referred to by their original Marvel names. And it's interesting to note that there was a Captain Marvel between the time Fawcett stopped publishing the character and Marvel picked up the copyright, but it was a kind of cheesy little thing. This Captain Marvel yelled the word split, and his limbs split from his person and kind of beat up people, and it's kind of silly, so we won't talk about it too much here. I think it only lasted like one issue. Now, looking at the character evolution, in pre-Crisis, Captain Marvel was from a different Earth than the other mainstream DC heroes. This is why in some Silver Age crossovers there is a character very much resembling Captain Marvel, but referred to as Captain Thunder. It's because DC didn't yet have the rights to the character. This character was a pastiche to Captain Marvel. The pre-Crisis Captain Marvel's origin is only slightly different from the current Captain Marvel. Originally, the wizard Shazam was apparently killed after Billy's first transformation into Captain Marvel, though he would often appear as a ghost during the run of the series. At the Rock of Eternity, Billy learned that the stranger who had led him to the wizard was in fact his father. Billy chose to remain Captain Marvel and naturally use Shazam's gifts for good. He also searched for his twin sister Mary, eventually finding her. Once they were reunited, Billy decided to share his power with her. Having received the power of the elders from her brother Billy, Mary was also transformed by speaking the wizard's name, Shazam, and became Mary Marvel. Later, Billy also shared his power with his and Mary's mutual friend, Freddie Freeman, who became Captain Marvel Jr. whenever he spoke the name Captain Marvel. Billy gave Freddie the power of the elders after he'd been crippled by Captain Nazi. The power of the elders is thus split evenly between these three heroes. Other members of the Marvel family included the non-powered but similarly attired Uncle Marvel, a lovable old fraud who first met the Marvels when he sought out Mary to return her good deed ledger. Dudley claimed he had the same superpowers as the Marvels, and to be Mary's long-lost uncle. Despite the fact that he had no powers and he wasn't Mary and Billy's uncle, he endeared himself to the Marvels so much that they accepted him into their family anyway. The 1940s version of Captain Marvel is in public domain, but the DC Comics version is not. Now let's look at post-Crisis. In the late 80s, the first post-Crisis appearance of Captain Marvel in the 1986 Legends miniseries. In 1987, Captain Marvel appeared as a member of the Justice League, and that same year, spinning off from Legends, he was also given his own miniseries titled Shazam: A New Beginning. For this 4-issue miniseries, writers attempted to relaunch the Captain Marvel mythos and bring the wizard Shazam, Dr. Savannah, Uncle Dudley, and Black Adam into the modern DC universe with an altered origin story. The most notable change that DC introduced into the Captain Marvel mythos was that the personality of young Billy Batson is retained when he transforms into the Captain. This change would remain for most future uses of the character as justification for his sunny Golden Age personality in the darker modern-day comic book world, instead of the Golden Age depiction, which tended to treat Captain Marvel and Billy as two separate personalities. At the end of the arc, it was announced that this would lead to a new Shazam ongoing series, but that failed to materialize. Now let's look at Shazam's arch nemesis, Black Adam. He's the man that would turn Billy into the hero that he is today. It was through his confrontations with Black Adam that Billy evolved into the noble and courageous hero we've come to know and love, Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel's first adventure found him battling his parents' murderer, Black Adam, who was an employee of Savannah's. Black Adam possesses superpowers on par with those of Captain Marvel, thanks to an ancient scarab amulet, which channeled power from Teth Adam, who had similar abilities granted by Shazam during ancient Egypt's 19th dynasty. Captain Marvel defeated him by taking away the amulet, stripping his power. Instead of allowing him to die in a collapsing museum, Captain Marvel saved his life and spared his parents' killer. Since his return to Earth in modern times, Black Adam, the antithesis to Captain Marvel, has become the world's mightiest mortal's most deadly and powerful enemy. The two have clashed many times over the ensuing years, but despite Black Adam's past crimes and atrocities, Captain Marvel has always held out hope that one day Black Adam would change his ways and seek and refine redemption. To this end, Captain Marvel, having learned Black Adam had joined the Justice Society of America, joined as well, so he could keep a close watch on his now seemingly remorseful and reforming foe. While they served together as members of the JSA, Captain Marvel and Black Adam got to see different sides of each other, sides neither knew existed. Eventually, they became somewhat friendly. It was during this time that Black Adam met and fell in love with superheroine Isis. She returned his love, and soon the two were wed. Captain Marvel even stood up as Black Adam's best man. Unfortunately, Black Adam's reformation didn't last after Isis was killed early in their marriage. The inconsolable Black Adam was absolutely consumed by rage, lashing out against anyone and everyone who dared anger or defy him. Finally, though he held out hope and gave Adam every chance to stop lashing out in grief, even Captain Marvel had to face the fact that Black Adam had renounced his reformation, returning to his former cruelty. Some of the major story arcs of Captain Marvel. Superman Shazam First Thunder. This series was intended to be the first meeting and collaboration, continuity-wise, between the last son of Krypton and the world's mightiest mortal. The wizard Shazam chooses young Billy Batson to wield the power of the gods because of his innocent soul and pure heart. Superman stumbles onto a museum robbery. When inspecting it, he finds thieves, and when confronting them, they release a magical monster to distract Superman long enough to escape. Elsewhere, Captain Marvel is fighting giant robots in Fawcett City. Not having the bad luck Superman had, Captain Marvel prevails in this battle. Dr. Thaddeus Sivana, with the defeat of his robots, calls the aid of a person whom he has difficulty with, another caped hero, Lex Luthor. In the Marvel vs. DC comic books, Captain Marvel fought valiantly against Thor, as both the Marvel and DC universes were at war, and the champion of the lightning was matched up against the god of thunder. The two regretted having to battle, and both decided to pray before they clashed. Captain Marvel scores a good-looking blow with a stiff right hand, but Thor manages to thwap the good captain away with the mighty Mjolnir, sending Captain Marvel hurtling into a Ferris wheel. Calling upon the strength of Zeus and Hercules, Captain Marvel rips the structurally compromised ride from its bearings and hurls it like a discus at his Norse foe. Mjolnir makes light work of the ride, sending it back as a falling pile of scrap metal. Pinned down by a massive piece of the structure, Captain Marvel lets out the mighty cry, "Shazam!" shrinking down to the nimble but vulnerable Billy Batson. Unwilling to be immobile for even a second, Batson shouts his cry again, but this time Thor, recognizing the lightning-based powers, hurls his hammer to intercept the bolt. Explosive energy sends Thor and the frail Billy Batson into next week, the mortal unable to battle on any further. As Thor gathers himself, however, he realizes victory has come at a price. Not only is his honor questionable, but his mighty hammer is apparently lost. Let's take a look at the New 52 Shazam. Billy Batson made his debut in the New 52 in the form of backup stories in Justice League. The story is titled The Curse of Shazam and is written by Jeff Johns and drawn by Gary Frank. On March 5th, 2012, DC revealed in a New York Post article that Captain Marvel will be renamed Shazam for his New 52 incarnation. He made his debut on March 21st in Justice League number 7. At Comic-Con, it was revealed by Jeff Johns that Shazam would be joining the Justice League and that he would have a close friendship with Cyborg, similar to that of Hal and Barry or Booster Gold and Ted Kord. Billy Batson is an orphan, one of the older children living in a foster home. He met his prospective foster parents, the Vasquezes, and seemed surprised that they would want him rather than a toddler or a young child. When they leave, he reveals his true colors. Billy Batson is in trouble. Billy arrives at the Vasquezes and meets Mary and Freddie Freeman as well as Pedro, Eugene, and Darla. He quickly negates the fact that he is part of this new family, claiming none of them are really related. This causes Darla to become upset and Mary to become angry with Billy. After, he's sitting in his new room, looking at an old photograph of his parents at a zoo and regretting his harsh statements. The next morning, Darla wakes Billy, already forgetting about the events prior, and the children all head to school. As the day ends and the group heads home, the Breyer brothers begin to pick on the adopted family. Billy intervenes and beats them up because he doesn't like bullies, but he's caught and sent to the principal. He's scolded by the principal, but gets off the hook with the help of his foster father. On his way out, Mr. Breyer threatens Billy, throwing both he and Mr. Vasquez to the ground before speeding away. Now let's look at the acronym, powers and abilities. The wizard's name Shazam is an acronym with each letter standing for an elder who grants his power to Shazam's champion. When young Billy Batson speaks the wizard's name, a magical lightning bolt charged with the power of the Shazam elders transforms Billy from an adolescent boy into the adult hero Captain Marvel Shazam, empowered by the gods. As Captain Marvel Shazam, he is granted powers from these elders. S for Solomon. S is for the wisdom of Solomon. The wisdom of Solomon gives Billy great knowledge, perception, passion, comprehension, and insight. By mystical means, Solomon is actually able to speak to Billy during his times of need. The wisdom of Solomon gives Billy many intellectual abilities, some known and others yet unknown. Some of these specific abilities are photographic memory, omnilinguistic, and advanced knowledge of war strategy and tactics. The H is for Hercules. Strongest of the gods, Billy is empowered with Hercules' nearly limitless superhuman strength, which is often compared to that of Superman. As such, Captain Marvel's strength is of the highest level and is sufficiently vast enough that it enables him to lift, move unbelievably massive or heavy objects, possibly on a planetary scale or higher, with little effort. Because his strength level is so high and potentially dangerous, Billy Batson constantly uses great restraint. Thus, he usually only uses as much strength or force as is necessary to accomplish whatever his given task or challenge requires. Because of this, he is not often seen moving objects of a planetary scale, though accomplishing such tasks are well within his abilities. The A is for Atlas. A is for the stamina of Atlas, Titan who bears the heavens on his shoulders. This means he doesn't need to sleep or eat as Captain Marvel and has virtually limitless superhuman endurance. Due to Atlas stamina, Captain Marvel doesn't fatigue during or after any exertion, no matter how strenuous or long in duration. Self-sustenance. When in the form of Captain Marvel, Billy Batson does not need to eat, sleep, or breathe. Superhuman stamina. The Z is for Zeus, most powerful of the gods. Though the term power of Zeus is vague, this grants Billy many abilities, many possibly unknown as of yet. Through Zeus, Captain Marvel has high-level magic resistance and can call down the lightning that changes him back and forth between the two personas. He has even used the lightning as a weapon before, calling it down and then dodging it while allowing it to strike an enemy. Captain Marvel has also stated that with this power also comes the wrath of Zeus. This implies supreme righteous anger or rage, though it's unclear how this ties into Billy's power set. The power of Zeus is vast and hard to define completely. The A is for Achilles. The courage of Achilles, the greatest hero of the Trojan War. This grants him inner strength and confidence. The M is for Mercury. The speed of Mercury, swiftest of the gods. This grants Marvel his godlike speed and power to fly. And I want to continue. We looked at a brief history of Captain Marvel Shazam in the world of comic books. I want to take a look at his history on the silver screen. Captain Marvel is the very first superhero to have a live-action adaptation. We're going to talk about that next. If you love comics as much as I do, you're going to subscribe to my channel. I review comics for Comic Crusaders. I also have my own franchises, Adolescent Radioactive Samurai Platypi and Carl Vincent Vampire Hunter. They're available on Comics Central, Indie Planet, and Comixology. Check them out. Stay tuned to this broadcast for more information. Also, like the Facebook pages for each franchise for more information. Check out my Patreon site for some neat original artwork and shows that you won't find on YouTube. And now let's take a look at Shazam's appearances on television. In 1974, we got the first live-action television series featuring a superhero since the cancellation of Batman back in the 60s. It was a popular show during its run. Shazam took some creative liberties with the character of Captain Marvel, going so far as to have an impact on the temporary direction of the comic book itself. The premise of the television series was the same as the comic book. Teenage Billy Batson speaks the word Shazam and is turned into the world's mightiest mortal, Captain Marvel. Only in the television show, Billy speaks directly to the animated character, giving him specific power, for instance Achilles for courage. The series established that Billy was on leave from his radio job and was living a more or less nomadic life, traveling around in a van with Mentor alongside him. Mentor was played by actor Les Tremayne. Michael Gray played Billy Batson, a teenage boy who can transform into the superhero Captain Marvel. The Captain was originally played by Jackson Bostwick and later by John Davey, looking for injustices to resolve. The show ran from 1974 to 1976 on CBS Saturday morning lineup. From 1975 to 1977, it was known as the Shazam ISIS Hour and included The Secrets of ISIS, the first female lead in a superhero television series. She's an ancient Egyptian goddess superheroine resurrected in the body of a school teacher as the second half of the hour. Joanna Cameron, the star of The Secrets of Isis, appeared as Isis and her alter ego Andrea Thomas on 3 episodes of Shazam, and John Davey likewise appeared as Captain Marvel in 3 episodes of Isis. This is one of the first Filmation productions to carry the producer's wheel at the start instead of appearing at the end. The first actor to play Captain Marvel on television was Jackson Bostwick, who was later replaced over a dispute about why he missed episodes. The studio said he was holding out for money. Bostwick insisted that he had suffered injuries while doing stunts on the show. It was then that the studio brought aboard John Davey, an American actor who was raised in Winnemucca, Nevada, the only city in Humboldt County. He was a U.S. Marine Corps from September 3, 1957 to October 1961. He was also a heavyweight boxer, including work as a sparring partner for Joe Frazier. Davey performed in numerous television series, including Perry Mason, The Rockford Files, and Max Headroom. Like many Hollywood actors, he would appear in minor roles as different characters in specific episodes of the same series, such as The Rockford Files and Barnaby Jones. Davey has recalled that the producers were hastily seeking to replace Bostwick. As Captain Marvel, Davey appeared in 3 episodes of Isis as well. He was featured as Captain Marvel in 11 episodes of the TV series. The second time we see a live-action Captain Marvel, or Shazam as we would call him today, was in a show called Legends of the Superheroes. It appeared as a 2-part special, and other heroes with Captain Marvel must first unite to celebrate the birthday of the retired hero named Scarlet Cyclone in the challenge, but get interrupted by Legion of Doom. The Legion announces a part of their evil plan and the existence of a bomb. The friend has to solve clues in order to save the peoples. In the process, they get trapped to drink Mordor's depowering potion. Powerless, they still manage to beat the villains, disarm their bomb, and win the day. Captain Marvel in both specials was played by actor Garrett Cragg. Also, the show was a reunion of sorts for the Batman TV series, as it featured 3 actors that appeared on that show. Adam West and Burt Ward reprised their roles of Batman and Robin, respectively, and Frank Gorshin played the Riddler. The series was based loosely on Hanna-Barbera's Super Friends animated series, then airing on Saturday mornings on ABC. The show also featured DC Comics superheroes, such as Howard Murphy as the Green Lantern, Rod Haas as the Flash, Bill Nichols as Hawkman, Barbara Joyce as the Huntress, Alfie Wise as the Atom, and Danuta Wesley as the Black Canary. William Charlotte played retired man Scarlet Cyclone in both specials. The next time Shazam shows up, it's as an animated character on the Kids Superpower Hour with Shazam from 1981 to 1982. The first segment was Hero High. It was airing for the first time as an NBC Saturday morning cartoon about a bunch of superheroes in high school who learn how to fight crime during a fight against evil. Captain Marvel was passing by and gave them a hand. He's rarely on the show and is a minor character. This segment is both live action with musicians acting as the characters and an animated part where super kids save the day. The second segment is Shazam, Billy Batson's own series. Over the run he faced Gorilla Grodd, Mr. Mind, Hissman, Dr. Savannah, Black Adam, Savannah Family, Aunt Minerva, Night Owl, Mr. Atom, the Smasher, and Starmaster. And once in a while he gets some help from Hero High. There were 12 episodes in all, and Burt Middleton did the voices of Captain Marvel and Billy Batson. Barry Gordon did Captain Marvel Jr. and Freddie Freeman. The next time we see Captain Marvel, he's in Justice League Unlimited. He plays the role of the big-hearted optimist in the episode Clash, where he develops a less-than-amiable relationship with Superman, in part because he supports the idea of giving Lex Luthor a second chance, and also, it seems, because his power rivals that of the Man of Steel. Captain Marvel is also described as even more of a Boy Scout than Superman, which seems to cause some jealousy in Superman. The two heroes have an epic battle destroying much of the city, while showing just how evenly matched they are in physical power. This is Captain Marvel's only appearance in the JLU cartoon series. Billy Batson was voiced by Shane Habucha, and Captain Marvel was voiced by Jerry O'Connell. Next up, Captain Marvel appears on Batman the Brave and the Bold in 2009. He appears in the episodes The Siege of Starro, Part 1 and Part 2, where he helps save the world from Starro. He also appears in Night of the Batman, when he dresses like Batman and is injured and defeats Bane. Billy Batson is voiced by Tara Strong, and Captain Marvel is voiced by Jeff Bennett. Then Captain Marvel appears in Young Justice from 2011 to 2013. He's in multiple episodes and is voiced by Rob Lowe, then later by his brother Chad Lowe. Shazam becomes part of the Justice League in Justice League Action from 2016. Both characters' identities were voiced by Sean Austin. Now let's take a look at Captain Marvel in the movies. The first superhero to become adapted into a live-action film is The Adventures of Captain Marvel from 1941. Republic Pictures produced the series. They tried to get the rights to do Superman, but Paramount at the time had the rights for Superman and were doing Superman cartoons from the Fleischer Studios. And that's when Republic Pictures went to do Adventures of Captain Marvel. It's also regarded as the finest serial ever made, which is quite a compliment considering the popularity and success of both Flash Gordon serials and the Buck Rogers serial. The 12-chapter Captain Marvel serial tells a reworked version of Captain Marvel's origin and a challenge to uncover the identity of the mysterious villain, the Scorpion. Frank Coughlin Jr. plays Billy Batson, and famed cowboy actor Tom Tyler was cast as the lead in Captain Marvel. Then we jump ahead to 2009, Superman and Batman Public Enemies. Captain Marvel appears in this animated film, which was closely based on the first story arc of the Superman-Batman comic series. As in the comic book story, there is a fight between Captain Marvel and Superman. In this feature, Captain Marvel is voiced by Corey Burton, while Billy is voiced by Rachel McFarlane. Then we come to 2010, Superman Shazam, The Return of Black Adam. Young Billy Batson is attacked by Black Adam, but is helped by Superman. However, Black Adam is able to take advantage of Superman's vulnerability to magic. Billy meets the wizard Shazam, who grants him powers. Captain Marvel finally beats Black Adam and is about to kill him, but Superman convinces him otherwise. Jerry O'Connell reprises the role of Captain Marvel from Justice League Unlimited, while Billy is voiced by Zach Callison. Then we come to Justice League The Flashpoint Paradox from 2013. In The Flashpoint Paradox, Cyborg is creating a Justice League to help save the world from the Atlantean-Amazon War. He recruits Batman, who in this reality is Thomas Wayne, not Bruce Wayne, and Flash, Barry Allen, who's trying to find the Reverse Flash and restore time. He brings up pictures of all the other recruits, including the Shazam kids. Shazam in this reality is multiple kids who all have to say the word Shazam to turn into Shazam. Billy was voiced by Jennifer Hale, while Shazam was voiced by Stephen Blum. Then we come to 2014's Justice League War. Shazam appears as a main character in the film, marking the first movie to officially refer to the character as Shazam rather than Captain Marvel. Shazam was voiced by Sean Astin. In 2015's Justice League Throne of Atlantis, Billy was ecstatic to cheat in school in order to answer hails from the Justice League over having gotten into a discussion of what had tore apart a naval submarine and stripped it of its nuclear payload. Being his usual obnoxious self, he spends some of the movie acting as the foil to the otherwise serious older leaguers. Sean Astin reprised his role once again. And now we come to the current movie, Shazam 2019. Former Chuck star Zachary Levi is playing Shazam in the 2019 live-action film. The film is directed by David F. Sandberg and also stars Asher Angel as Billy Batson, Mark Strong as Dr. Savannah, Jack Dylan and Grazier as Freddie Freeman, Grace Fulton as Mary Broomfield, and Ian Chen as Eugene Choi, Faith Herman as Darla Dudley, John Armand as Pedro Pina, Jimon Honsu as the Wizard. Shazam is the 7th installment in the DC Extended Universe, directed by David F. Sandberg from a screenplay by Henry Gayden and a story by Gayden and Darren Lemke. Development of a live-action Shazam film began at New Line in the early 2000s, but was delayed for many years. The film went into pre-production in 2008 with director Peter Segal and writer John August, with Dwayne Johnson considered to star as the villain Black Adam. But the project fell through. William Goldman, Alex Sokolow, Joel Cohen, Burl Birch, and Jeff Johns, among others, were all attached to the project as writers at various points. The film was officially announced in 2014, with Johnson attached to star as either Shazam or Black Adam. He would later be cast in January 2017 to lead a solo Black Adam development project. Sandberg signed on to direct Shazam in February 2017, and Levi was cast that October, with Angel joining the following month. Principal photography began in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, on January 29, 2018, with most of the film shot at Pinewood Toronto Studios and wrapped on May 11, 2018. Shazam is in theaters now, and we're not going to discuss the plot because some of you, I'm pretty sure, haven't seen it yet, so I'm going to encourage you to just head on over to the movie theater, watch the movie, enjoy it. Captain Marvel fans, this is a very fine movie. You're going to want to watch it. Read my review of the movie on Comic Crusaders, also Comics for Sinners websites. Shazam was released alongside The Best of Enemies as well as Pet Sematary. It's projected to gross $40 to $50 million from 4,260 theaters in its opening weekend. 2 weeks before its release, the film grossed $3.3 million from Fandango advanced screenings, higher than the $2.9 million made by fellow DCEU film Aquaman the previous December. As of now, the critical response is very good. On review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 94% based on 139 reviews, with an average rating of 7.5 out of 10. The website's critical consensus reads, an effortlessly entertaining blend of humor and heart. Shazam is a superhero movie that never forgets the genre's real power, joyous wish fulfillment. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 73 out of 100 based on 40 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. The Hollywood Reporter's Frank Scheck called the film big on steroids and praised the tone and performances. Alonzo Duralde of The Wrap wrote, if the Wonder Woman and Aquaman movies represented DC Comics' first big screen steps away from the austere color palette of the Zack Snyder movies, Shazam takes us deeply into primary colors in a single bound. This new DC entry has a lovely lightness, both in visuals and in its tone. The AV Club gave the film a B- and said, but while the story of an extremely overpowered champion rising to challenge a one-dimensionally sinister baddie might seem like the epitome of simplicity, Shazam is still a modern-day tentpole blockbuster, overburdened with backstories for both hero and villain, and subtexts that it can't or won't fully articulate. Benjamin Lee of The Guardian gave the film 3 out of 5 stars and wrote, the finale, while admirably self-contained and small-scale, grinds on for far too long. A boring escalation of anticlimaxes that cumulatively dull the intended emotional impact. It's a film in need of a lighter edit, with a script in need of a sharper polish. An imperfect franchise launcher that nonetheless represents significant progress for DC. That was my look. The history of Captain Marvel / Shazam, both in comic books and on the silver screen. I hope you get out and see the movie. I've seen it. I've given it a great review on my website, Comic Crusaders, Comics for Sinners. Until next time, this is Kevin Given saying so long and keep reading those comics and going to the comic book movies.